and I was planning the divorce. Thought I can survive without him until I got to our little puppy. And I thought, oh no, he'll get the puppy. And I went back upstairs and made up with Tudor because I didn't want to lose custody of that little dog.
Welcome back, my friends. If you've ever wondered whether love is possible after heartbreak, divorce, betrayal, or loss, you need to listen to this episode. You'll hear the incredible story of Susie and Tudor, a couple who found each other after difficult endings and went on to build a loving marriage that has lasted for more than 3 decades. We'll talk about overcoming heartbreak, rebuilding trust, finding the courage to love again, and the relationship habits that create lasting connection. Whether you're navigating a transition, healing from a past relationship, or simply looking for inspiration for a stronger partnership, this conversation offers practical wisdom, hope, and proof that second chances can lead to something even better than you imagined. Let's take a listen.
So today's episode is incredibly special. We're sitting down with 2 people, not just guests, but as dear friends. Susie and Tudor, your story is one of resilience, second chances, and choosing love every day. We'll start at the beginning. Tell us about each of you individually before you met and where you were at in your lives.
I was working for a guy up in North Phoenix, and he owned an electronics company, and I had just left working for my uncle and didn't really have much to do. So I said, hey, John, if you ever need any help, look me up. And he said, hey, come on down. So I went to his place and started working, putting together circuit boards and testing them. And then one night he said, hey, you want to go out? I've got a friend that wants to go out. And I thought, okay, we could do that. What's interesting is that when he mentioned this girl, Susie, to me, I said, I think I know that girl because I talked to her like 2 years ago and she was just too busy for me. And she blew me off. I blew her off. 2 years went by. And then all of a sudden, this guy that I'm working for is dating, not knowing, Susie's friend. And so they're trying to hook us up in the background.
Well, we should
Yeah.
start more at the beginning of
Yeah.
where before all that happened. I had been married for 10 years to my first husband. And I thought once you're married forever. But we both had a lot of issues from our childhood and we brought them to our marriage. We were young. It was not a good deal. And finally, after 10 years, he left me. And at the time, I was devastated. I thought the world had came to an end because I thought once you're married forever. Even though he left me, I still thought we should get back together. And I cried every day for 3 months. And my girlfriend, Sherry, who was dating the guy that Tudor was just talking about, got tired of seeing me cry all the time. So she said, Susie, I want you to go on this blind date. And I'm like, that's the last thing I wanted to do. I wanted my first husband back. I didn't want anybody else. And I didn't even want to go for a free lunch with somebody. And so I went to lunch with him. And I'll tell you what really did win my heart. But when I got back to the office, she said, well, what'd you think of him? I said, yeah, he's got a nice watch. Come to find out it was a $10 watch. And he had a car starter, which at the time was unheard of. I'd never heard of a car starter. I'm like, oh, wow, that's pretty neat. And that was all I had to say to her about him. But in my heart, when I had talked to him, I thought, well, he's a nice guy. He had forgiven some things of his past with his formal marriage. He was going to his son's birthday party. I just thought, wow, that's nice. He just sounded like a nice guy. And then along the road of life, she would say, Susie, let's get together. And I'd get together with her at a restaurant and there would be Tudor. And she was dating his friend, John. And then she said, let's go to the Renaissance Fair. I said, okay, that sounds fun. So we go there, we stop to get gas and he hops in the car. And I'm like, what on earth is he doing with us? But I didn't know they had arranged it. And then when we were at the Renaissance thing, a little child had gotten lost. and the child was crying. Tudor took the little kid by the hand and found its mom. And I'm like, oh, he is a nice guy. And then a couple of weeks later, we end up again, one of these accidental meetings at a Peter Piper pizza place for a birthday party. Some little kid falls off his chair, hits his head in the back of the head and is crying. He picks the kid up, takes it to its mom. I'm like, wow, he's really a nice guy. And that's where I left it at.
Oh my gosh.
Meantime, I've got us all planned out.
But you should back the story up about your life.
Yeah. On my 35th birthday, I thought I was going to have a surprise party when I got home. And the surprise was I had an affair.
Not him, his wife.
Yeah. My wife had an affair. And her mom was there and forced her to tell me what was going on. But, you know, for a couple years, I was ready to take her back. I mean, I had forgiven her, but she had plans with this guy named Dave. So we filed for divorce. I took the boys because I had the house. So I took the two boys. I think they were 8 and 10 at the time. And so I've got my mom living with me now because she's my nanny, helping me with the boys, getting them ready for school.
Great
And
mom.
so all this is going on. But in the meantime, I'm thinking, well, she found somebody. I need to find someone. So all this planning of dating Susie and doing it sneakingly, because every time John would say, hey, we're going out, we're going to do some country dance and you want to meet us there? And I said, yeah, I'll be there. So what's really funny is that Susie really didn't have much interest in me that at the time. She really didn't. But I was attracted to her. I mean, I wanted to continue dating. And we ended up on St. Patrick's Day at I think it was like a country western place. Was it?
No, it was a Colin Joe. It was a sports bar.
Oh, it was a sports bar, right? And she was there, and I showed up, and I got this nice white shirt on. I got these tight Levi's on, and you know, I'm trying to. So there was a gift shop there, and I vaguely remember, but I thought I went in and bought something for her and gave it to her.
You did. You gave me a green carnation.
We started dating. And
actually, that was the night of our first kiss.
In the parking lot, I think.
Really?
St. Patrick's Day, I kissed her in the parking lot. And then pretty soon, I find out where she lives, which is 35 miles away. And on one particular Saturday morning, I decided to ride my bike to her house. But I called her ahead of time to make sure she'd be home. The phone was busy. So I figured, okay, it's busy. I'll get on my bike. So I rode my bike 35 miles to get to her house, and I knock at the door. She's not home. So I opened up the screen door. There was a newspaper there, and I put it to where once she opened up the screen door, the newspaper would fall. So I got all the way home, and I called her, and she answered the phone. And I said, where were you? I rode my bike all the way to your house. It's 35 miles away. And she goes, no, you didn't do that. I said, yeah, go out to your front door. So she goes out to the front door and opened up the screen door, and the paper fell. I said, see, I was there. I wanted proof that I was there. And
clever.
We started dating. And
well, in the meanwhile, I start having feelings. I'm seeing a nice person he is, how he's involved in his boys' lives. I think he's just a nice human being. But then after that kiss, we started having more feelings for each other. But I still thought in my heart, once you're married forever. So I called my first husband, Mike, and I said, Mike, is there even 1% chance we'll get back together? And had he said, yeah, I would have broke up with Tudor right then. I would have not been in his life at all. And he said, no. I said, not even 1%. And he said, no. And then I told him, I've met this young man and he's a nice guy. I said, I'm going to pursue a friendship with him, but I wanted to check it with you first. And he's like, no, go ahead. From that point on is when I started getting serious, and I actually realized that Mike and I were not going to have a future together. Up until then, I kept, praying and believing and hoping that he was going to come back again.
So here we are dating, and I had forgiven my first wife, and I called her up on this one particular Friday night, I think it was, and I said, what are you doing tonight? She goes, no plans. And I said, you're going to come over to the house. I want you to meet someone that I'm dating, because I wanted them to be semi-friend, because Susie had a daughter and I had 2 boys.
Kids,
and I needed them to work together so there wouldn't be this friction, because prior to Susie, I had a girlfriend that was very jealous of my first wife. It was really a bad situation, and I didn't want that with Susie. and Lynn. So Lynn came over the house. I introduced them and gave Susie my credit card and said, you guys go out and talk and I'll watch the boys. And they did. They went out and talked and they became friends that night. And here it is, 30 some odd years later, they still talk.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic, and I mean, it's a good, wonderful thing. Now we've been married 32 years now, but we are very good friends with my ex-husband, and we're very good friends with Tudor's ex-wife. We do things together with them, and we watch after them when they have needs, if there's something we can help them with.
Here's the funny part. I met her husband one day, and he seemed like a great guy. He seemed very intelligent, very smart. And I said to him, just jokingly, you need a job? And he goes, yes. I ended up hiring him.
See, he's talking about hiring his ex-wife's husband.
Yeah, my ex-wife husband.
What?
I hired the guy.
No way.
Yeah, and
You
that
guys
was
are
when
so grown up.
I know.
I love
and
it.
so, and so he's working for me, and I said, hey, I'm going up north to the cabin. Do you want to join me? We'll go hang out. We'll do some four-wheeling in the snow. It was snowing that day up there. And he's like, yeah, I'll go. So we became friends. Dave worked for me for, I don't know, 6-8 months. And everything was going great. I mean, the guy's a nice guy. I still talk to him all the time.
Yeah, he's still not
He's
lying.
very, very smart, very intelligent. And at the time, I needed somebody like that knew electronics and knew how to get things done.
And what I was going to say, back in the story up, Tudor and I met February 24th is the date that we met from the first time. And then we were starting to have feelings. Like I said, I got permission from my ex-husband. He didn't want me back anymore. So then that summer, we had gone to California to see his brother. And riding back on the plane, Tudor says to me, he's reading the USA Today paper, and he makes a comment, there's never been a better time to buy a house. He just read that in that article. And I said, yeah, never a better time than now to buy a house. Just kind of, repeating what the newspaper said. So the next day I go to work, and I go over to his house after work just to hang out with him. And he says, let's go look at houses. And he had a real estate lady. So we found the house we're living in. We went into the model home. This house wasn't built at the time. And we went into the model home, and we both fell in love with the model home, but we had never talked about getting married. We just barely said we love each other. I don't know if we'd even said that at that point. But we both fell in love with the house. So that night, without even thinking, without talking, we signed the paperwork that we're going to have this house built. And they said, you cannot change anything until after it closes. It won't close till January. And we're like, that's no problem. I'm not changing jobs. We're not getting married. Nothing's changing. Well, then life goes on till 2 weeks before the January 13th close date. And the realtor guy calls me and he says, we got a problem. You don't qualify unless you're married. He said, Tudor has the money in the bank. You have the good credit, but you have to be married to qualify. So I called Tudor on the phone at work and I said, how bad do you want that house? Do you want it bad enough to marry me? And he says, let's talk. And so I said, okay. And that's kind of how I felt. Let's talk about how bad do we want this house? I get home that night. He's packing to go on business. He leaves the next day to go on business. When he comes back, I'm packing now to go to Kansas City for right after Christmas to go to see my family. So we haven't had a chance to even talk. So then I get back, and now we're down to like 5 days before the deadline. We've got to get married or let the house go. So on Monday night, we decided to get married that following Saturday.
You guys are crazy.
We weren't engaged. I mean, like, we'd hardly even, like I said, I love you, but we both wanted that house. I go to my boss on Tuesday and said, can I have off Friday? I'm going to California to get married. And they didn't hardly know I was even dating somebody. And they're like, what? And I'm sure they thought I was pregnant and had to get married. I'm sure because I was 38 at the time. So they probably thought that. And so anyway, one of my coworkers lent me her wedding dress. One of them lent the headpiece. We got our sister-in-law, Charlene in California, to order the cake and the flowers. I said, just make them purple. I don't care. Just make them purple. And line a pastor up. And Tudor got the wedding song, When a Man Loves a Woman. He heard it. I'd never even heard
Heard
it.
on the radio. So I got the CD.
And I'm like, it actually was a cassette back then. I said, I don't even care. Just whatever music. I don't care. So then we're getting married in California on his brother's boat. Now you can tell what happened.
Yeah. So we have to go to California and get a license to get married. And We get to the courthouse, wherever they issue the marriage license, and it's 2 minutes to 5, and they close at 5 o'clock. We drove there, and I said, Susie, you run in. I'm going to park the car. Well, I parked it in a no parking zone because I didn't care. And I go running in there, and they gave us the license. I come out. I got a ticket on my car, and here it is, Friday night. We got the license, and we're going to get married Saturday morning. So,
But before that, we got married on January 1st. But before we picked the date, we could have got married December 31st or January 1st. So we called his tax accountant and said, which way's better for taxes? And they said January 1st. I'm like, that's the
yeah,
day.
he said, don't get married on the 31st. Get married on the 1st.
So that was.
So we got married on January the 1st on a boat in front of John Wayne's property in Orange County.
Yeah, out in the ocean.
Out in the ocean on a boat.
out
And it was
there.
great. The kids were there. Susie had her daughter there, which did not want to be there. My kids did not want to be
We're
there.
just going to go get the picture.
They wanted their mom back, and Susie's daughter wanted the dad back. And in fact, Susie's going to show.
This is the wedding picture,
Yeah,
actually,
this
right
is-
there.
This is our wedding picture.
Oh, wow. I love that. Wow. Nice.
Here we are. We come back from California, and a week later, we're moving into this house. My mom is living with me. Remember, my mom's living
Yes.
with me.
Mother-in-law
And so
now.
we got her room all set up. Mom got a room downstairs, and the boys caused a nightmare for us. Her daughter caused problems.
Well, we
yeah.
should say, I'm a very disciplined person. I believe for every action, there's a reaction. There's a consequence for everything you do in life. And that's the way I raised my daughter, very strictly. Tudor, bless his heart, didn't know what the word discipline means.
Different
So his
parents.
boys didn't either.
I let them do whatever they want because they're with me and mom's off with Dave.
And
Oh,
unfortunately, Tudor's mother followed the same pattern. She had no discipline with them either. So here I am trying to bring structure and rules to the household, and they were very rebellious
Oh, boy.
because they weren't used to it. They hated me with a passion. My daughter felt the same way about Tudor. You know, who's this man? And that the kids honestly hardly knew we were dating because
No.
it wasn't a big deal. We weren't planning on going having a future together, although we enjoyed each other's company.
There was so much friction in this house. You could have cut it with a knife.
How did you guys get through those obstacles? Blending families is always difficult.
Hardest, let's say it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah. Here's
I
how we
get
got.
it.
We joined a church. So here's a funny story. So in 1999, it was on maybe a Friday night. I hear Susie talking to my ex-wife Lynn on the phone. Okay, they're talking, and I'm listening, and all of a sudden I hear Susie say, "We'll be at church. We'll meet you there Sunday." And she hangs up the phone, and I said, "What did you do?" And she goes, "We're just going to go to their church. They invited us to their
See,
church."
they kept inviting us, and I had no interest in going to their church. And basically, what I told him was, I just went to shut her up. I never intended on ever going in that church again. But the funny thing is, that was in June of '99. We have never missed a service at that church unless we're out of town since 1999. It's our church. And
We're the third longest people going to this church because it started in 95 and 94, and we started going there in 1999. And what's funny about it, they left the church. We stayed.
Well, they moved away.
They moved to Oklahoma. It was sad because my oldest son started living with them at the end. I couldn't handle him anymore. He was causing too much disruption to the family, and I told him, Ryan, you got to go live with your mother because I
You had
can't
to set
handle
a boundary.
Yeah, he didn't like the structure, and so he moved out. But what's odd is my ex-wife bought a house within walking distance. So her and Dave live right down the street. They bought a duplex. So they're just a rock throw from our house. Yeah, were until they moved to Oklahoma. Then Ryan, I found him an apartment, and that caused friction because I paid for everything. And so that caused a problem. But anyway, we got through it we went to Cancun, and we're at church.
This time we're married about 10 years, but the first 5 years of our marriage was very bad. And to be honest, there's two reasons I stayed with Tudor. We'll back the story up. It was so bad. It was so bad in our household. I stayed with Tudor for two reasons. His youngest son was doing very bad in school, going very bad a direction in life. And I was afraid he was going to end up in prison like one of Tudor's nephews had ended up. So
Oh, geez.
I felt, even though Brent hated me and rebelled against my rules, I needed to be there to try to guide him. That's what my logic was. But one night we had been fighting, and I was so mad at Tudor for something. I'm like, I'm not even sleeping with you. So I went downstairs and was sleeping on the couch, and I was planning the divorce, and I was going through the house. I'm like, okay, I brought this to the marriage. He brought that. I went all through the house. I'm like, okay, I can move out. I can survive without him. I was just going through my mind until I got to our little puppy. And I thought, oh no, he'll get the puppy because I can't afford the house. So I'll move to a cheaper apartment. The little puppy's real insecure. He'll want to stay in the house he knows, so he won't go with me. And I went back upstairs and made up with Tudor.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
I didn't know that the dog kept this together.
Right. But I just, because I didn't want to lose custody of that little dog. So that's the reason I went back upstairs to make up to him there.
Yeah, it was, and then, so here's 10 years, we're going to go on a honeymoon.
We had not been on
a honeymoon. So we decided we're going to go to Cancun for a honeymoon. And for some bizarre reason, I went up to our pastor and I said, have you ever been to Cancun? And he said, no. I said, okay, you're going with us. We're going to Cancun next week. You're going with us.
But the thing is, he did not tell me.
I didn't tell Susie.
And another church lady comes up to me.
She heard me talking to pastor.
Yeah. And this church lady, Roberta, comes up to me and she says, oh, Susie, that's so nice that you're taking Pastor Andy and his wife to Cancun with you. And I said, no, we're not. I said, this is Tudor and I's honeymoon 10 years later, but it's our honeymoon. And she said, well, he just invited him. I'm like, no, he didn't. And I thought she was teasing me. She was serious.
So Susie comes up to me and says, you want to tell me something? I said, oh, yeah. Pastor Andy and Joanne are going to Cancun with us. And here's the best part. That's what saved our marriage.
Really?
Them,
are you kidding me?
because we got counseling for a week.
24/7. They stayed with us in the timeshare. We did everything together, and they counseled us. It wasn't planned, but all the time we sit down to eat, things would come up. And I mean, it got, some of the times were pretty ugly that, I was so mad at him. He'd be so mad at me. But Pastor Andy walked us through the situation. And at the end of it, we agreed that we'll try to make it work. We will try to make it work.
Yeah.
And
You've gotten that far,
right.
Wow.
And now 32 years later, it's honestly better than it's ever been.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. We've gotten much closer over the last probably 15, 20 years.
Actually, since COVID.
Since COVID, yeah. Since COVID.
What happened during COVID, I had never worked at home a day in my life. And Tudor, you were at home at that time, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you were at home.
Yeah.
He was selling his business. I had never worked at home in my life. I'm forced to work at home on March 17th, 2020, because of COVID. And so now I'm in this household with Tudor, 24/7.
Yeah.
And at first, the first 2 weeks were rough, because I'd be in here working away and he'd walk in and be talking, or he'd have the TV on loud and I could hear.
Oh, yeah, I'm watching TV. I'm eating chips and dip, and I'm just
like,
enjoying it. And here's Susie in the house, and I can't do anything now without her hearing it. I can't talk on the phone.
And I'm like, and I'm trying to concentrate on work. So the first 2 weeks, I was like in tears. This isn't going to work. We got to go back to the office. I ended up working from home for 2 years, and it turned out to be the best thing. During that time frame, we started doing our food ministry here in Chandler, Arizona.
Yes.
He's volunteering down at the food bank. We're getting all this free food. And we worked together to feed the community during that crisis of COVID, when a lot of people had lost their job. So we both had a mutual goal of getting people food as soon as we could. And well, it still continued 6 years later.
And what's great about it is I was bringing the food home, putting it in the garage, and then advertising on Facebook, hey, come get free food. And we got 125 cars lined up on our street every week. We were doing it weekly. 125 cars. They're wrapped around the whole block waiting
So
for
you're
food.
serving others, and that helped your relationship grow stronger.
It did.
Wow.
It did. And now, well, we did it yesterday. We did it today. and I'm going to go to Mexico tomorrow. I'm going to hang out going fishing for the first
I'm
time.
not going.
She's
on
going to
this
stay
one.
home, but I'm going fishing tomorrow in Mexico for the first time. We bought a place in Mexico 17 years ago, and I've never gone fishing there. And it's one of the best places to go fishing. So a
So
couple
you're gonna
buddies,
go have some fun.
I'm just
He's
going to,
having a guy's
yeah,
Fun
just a
time,
guy
guys,
trip.
boys time.
Going for a couple days, and we'll stay at the condo and hang out there for a couple days and then come home Sunday. But yeah, we're doing this together now. And so she gets to see what I do, and I get to hear what she's doing. But this girl, she puts in a lot of hours for her company, a lot of hours. Sometimes I'll say, Susie, I'll have to call her. Susie, come out of the office. Come on, let's go for a ride. Let's get
I get
away.
to work from home twice a week.
Thursday and Fridays.
But we share our ministry ever since then. We've gotten really involved with Mexico, with the orphans, inmates, and homeless down at Rocky Point. So we both are very focused on taking care of them and what it takes to take care of them, and plus our food ministry here in Arizona. So we're both very focused now on that. And I would say has made us really close, because there's a lot of marriages where one couple's very serving and helpful to people, and one member doesn't want to have anything to do with it, and they're not on the same playing field. We have a disconnect with some of our volunteers and their spouses, but it makes us really grateful that we both want to help the inmates. We both want to help the orphans. We both want to help the homeless. We both want to help the needy here in Chandler. And so we work together toward that goal of helping others.
Yeah.
And the ironic thing is, well, now my daughter is in heaven. She went to heaven in 2016. But prior to her going to heaven, she got very close to Tudor.
Yeah, that last
Oh,
couple, when she was in the hospital, I sat there for like 2 hours and we just bonded. We got so close at the end. And now the boys, my boys, by the way, they'll call up Susie and they'll hang up and say, before they hang up, they'll say, I love you.
Yeah, and on
Both
Mother's Day, the youngest one, which was a rebellious one at the time, he said to me, "You're the best stepmom I could ever have." Yeah, because a long time ago, whenever we were, the kids were 12, 13, and 14 when we got married. And back when Brent was in his teenage years, we had gone to the grocery store, and the checkout clerk had made a statement, something about your mom. And he looks at her and he's like, "She's not my mom. She never will be my mom." He started yelling at this poor checkout lady. And I'm like thinking, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
but he's turned out that both of his boys are very successful and they're doing very good in life. And now we're all very close. It's a beautiful thing to think of how bad it was and how good it is now.
Yeah, Lynn and Dave, they come to our house all the time.
Mhm.
They'll come here for Christmas. They'll show up here Christmas Eve.
We'll probably spend Easter with them too. We usually do Thanksgiving
Yeah,
and
we'll
Easter
do
with them.
Easter with them at my son's house. We communicate. Susie and her are still friends. In fact, Susie will take pictures and mail them to her of the boys.
You guys are such a good example.
And another interesting thing is my first husband has limited income right now. After he pays his medical bills, he doesn't have money for groceries. So gosh, for the last 6 months now, on a weekly basis, we get free food. And on a weekly basis, we put food aside for him. And so he gets free food every week.
Every Wednesday, he'll get a lot of food. We have one of our volunteers drop it off at his house.
You
Yeah,
guys
it's-
are like Jesus.
I wouldn't go that far. Jesus has made a difference in our life. We'll
Yeah.
say that.
If it
And-
wasn't for our Christian church, we would not be together. I can guarantee that.
I believe that once you let Christ in your relationship and you start serving others and see their needs, you kind of forget about your selfish ideas or perceptions. What advice would you say to someone who feels like love has passed them by, like after divorce? I don't
Well-
think I'll ever find love again. What advice would you give to somebody?
Don't give up. This is number one. Don't give up. Work through it, because we all struggle. Everyone struggles, whether you're married for 2 weeks or 30 years, you're going to struggle. And it's so easy to say and give up and just walk away. And so many marriages break up because they just walk away. But the best is yet to come. And you just got to get through that curve, because we all go through it. You get through that curve and then things start getting better. And like Susie said, we're more in love today than we've ever been, ever. And it's because of the ministry work that we're doing together and having her home 2 days a week. She gets to see what I do. with the ministry. Like she said, COVID was very good to us.
Yeah, as much as bad as it seemed, there were a lot of bad things about COVID, but one of the positive things about it is it gave me a new respect for him and him, I think probably for me.
Yeah.
And
I didn't realize how much she worked, how many hours she puts in. And she really didn't know what I was doing volunteering at 2 food banks. She gets to see what I do, and she's out there helping me. We sometimes drive the truck together. On Saturday, we'll go pick up food together. First, we go on a little date morning breakfast every Saturday. And we go have crepes and hang out. And it used to be on a Saturday, Susie would go one way and I'd go the other way. I go golfing, she goes shopping, hang out with her girlfriends. But now it's so bizarre because I never thought we would hang out together on a Saturday, and we do. Every Saturday that we're in town, we're doing food ministry every Saturday.
Yeah.
It's been great. The ministry of helping people, and that's what I would recommend. If you're struggling out there and you're having tough times with your marriage, go volunteer. Go volunteer.
Great
Both of you.
advice.
Volunteer, even if it's just an hour a week, and you'll find that by helping other people will bring you closer in marriage.
I love that advice. So I'm going to ask you guys 2 last questions. First, you, Tudor, what do you admire most about Susie?
I would say her structure and the way she's very consistent. I'm not consistent. She's got a system every day she follows. She gets up at 5 o'clock, just about, and I don't care if Susie goes to bed at midnight. She's up at 5 o'clock every morning, and she's got this system, and it's structured. She takes her vitamins. She does everything in structure, and that has allowed me, in many cases, to learn structure because I never had structure in my life. I'm the youngest of 6, so I got to do whatever I want. I was the baby in the family,
the spoiled baby.
the spoiled baby. Yeah. So just seeing Susie's work ethics and seeing how she handles her clients and her customers, it just gives me more respect for her. And she's so giving. I'm telling you, she is so giving. Sometimes she'll give too much, and I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, it's okay. So she says, it's okay. It's okay. And I said, all right, I'm a giver, but she's got me beat tenfold.
Susie, what do you admire most about Tudor?
Probably the same thing now that I liked about him in the beginning is his heart. He has a heart for helping others. And my opinion, in the past, sometimes I think he helped too much. He didn't have boundaries with saying no in different areas of life. And it's because he does have a big heart. He wants to make it easier for other people, whatever they're dealing with. And it's the same thing that attracted to me him in the beginning is his heart. And that he puts in a lot of hours volunteering behind the scenes to get the things that we get to be able to give away to other people. And he doesn't complain. He gets up every morning. He's kind of really on call with 3 different food banks 24/7. Whenever they got something they need or want, they call.
Yeah.
And if we're in town, we try to accommodate them there.
I told him on Wednesday, hey, I'm going fishing Friday. So Thursday is the only day I'm available. What do you think they did? They called me Thursday morning. I drove an hour from here to go pick up food at another location and bring it back to the food bank. And then for that, they gave me 2 truckloads of vitamins. 26 pallets we gave away today of vitamins.
Out in
all
the driveway.
Out in the driveway, all different kinds. In fact, I went through 26 pallets. I've got 4 left. We gave away 22 pallets of vitamins.
You guys are just full of service, and you guys both are very hard, dedicated workers.
We're very blessed. We have a motto that we're blessed to be a blessing to others. And that we both feel that way. So it's not like I'm looking at him thinking, well, he's giving them more attention than me. He's helping them more than me. I'm glad to see that he helps others. I'm glad that he has that caring heart. Not everybody does.
Oh, we don't.
We got a 5-bedroom house, and 3 of the 5 bedrooms are full of stuff to give away to the people that need it.
Probably 3.5. The office has got things hidden away.
So if
Yeah.
you're in the Chandler, Arizona area, how do people find you?
Go on Facebook, look up my name. I've got 6,000 followers now. I got 5,000 friends and family on there. So there's roughly 11,000 people following me. So when we have free stuff to give away, we probably had 150 people here in the last 2 days.
I'll be working in the office, so I'm not home. And I'll get a text from someone saying, oh, can you save me? I was vitamins or whatever we're giving away, Tudor's giving away that day. I won't even know he's giving things away at the house, but he posted on Facebook and all these people see, and some of them can't get here to pick it up. So they are texting me to save them some. I'm like,
Yeah,
I didn't even know
won't
he was
save
doing
anything.
it.
It's up to Susie. It's like, I'm not saving anything.
But I won't even know he's doing it. And sometimes they'll ask me, when's Tudor going to do it again? I said, I don't know. Just watch Facebook. You'll know before me. And that's kind of the answer. I went to lunch today with my girlfriend, and I come back. He's given away the second load of vitamins out of our driveway. And we had just about finished the first load this morning when I went to lunch, and someone had pulled up late and said, when's he going to get more? I said, I don't know. In fact, you watch Facebook, you'll know before me. And sure enough, that's the way it worked out. Yeah. I come home, there's all these people getting vitamins that found it from Facebook. I saw
Susie drive by. There's no place for her to park. She had to drive down the end of the street, park her truck, and then walk up the street. That's how many people were here today.
You guys are the best. Oh my goodness. Susie and Tudor, thank you for sharing your side B love story. It's a reminder to everyone listening, just because your side A ended doesn't mean the story's over. Flip the tape and the best might still be ahead. We'll see you next time.
All righty. Bye-bye, honey. Bye-bye.